Good evening. Welcome to the Raleigh Board of Selectmen meeting for October 17th, 2016 at 5:30 PM at the Town Hall. Call the meeting to order. First order of business is to pledge allegiance. Bob, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Okay. On the agenda for tonight, we have an executive session for collective bargaining strategy, and then we will go into open session, and there's chairman's comments and citizens' query and general business. So let's go to the executive session. Chairman calls for a motion to go into executive session for the following purpose: to discuss collective bargaining strategy, AFSCME Local 2905, Teamsters Local 170, and the Massachusetts Coalition of Police MCOP Local 360, because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town, and to return to open session. A selectman makes the motion and is seconded by another member of the Board of Selectmen, and a roll call vote, voice vote is taken.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion has been made,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Peterson. Roll call, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Dave Peterson. Aye, Linda Snell.
Aye, Joe Perry.
Aye, Cliff Pierce.
And I recuse myself and will be leaving in the room.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Raleigh Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, October 17th at the Town Hall. We're back in open session, and I just want to remind everybody that this meeting is being audio and visually recorded digitally. We have chairman's comments on the agenda tonight, citizens' query from 7:10 to 7:15, general business items, new business and old business, and we will have minutes to vote on. Start with chairman's comments. I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about Friday evening. This past Friday evening, we had the opening, the first home game that we had at Triton Stadium in 5 years. And it was a pleasure to see the field and what they've done to it. The amenities building, the new stands, and the field is just beautiful. Unfortunately, the team had a rough going, and and they're no longer undefeated. They did lose to the North Reading team. But it was fun being out there to have the band play the Star Spangled Banner at the beginning of the game, and to have the team officially operating on their own turf. And I enjoyed it, and it was kind of cold, but we had a good night. And we were able to, we had a sellout crowd, and I hope people will continue to come and support the team. And Mr. Murray was there with me, and Mr. Peterson and his wife. I enjoyed the evening. Thank you. Okay, going on. General business, number 1. We have a letter from Police Lieutenant Stephen May announcing his retirement. Chief, please accept this letter as notice of my intention to retire from service with the department on December 2nd, 2016. Over the last several months, I have found it increasingly difficult to balance the demands of my position as executive officer here and statewide highway safety training coordinator at the Municipal Police Training Committee. Although it was an extremely difficult decision to make, I have decided to concentrate my efforts and devote my career to police training across the Commonwealth. I have enjoyed a long and fulfilling career as a Raleigh police officer and thank the town for all of the opportunities that have been afforded to me. As you and I have discussed, I would welcome the opportunity to continue to serve the town in a reserve officer capacity. Respectfully submitted, Lieutenant Stephen May.
Give you a motion to accept with regrets, Mr. Chairman?
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded to send a letter to Lieutenant Stephen May accepting his resignation from the Town of Raleigh Police Department. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. General business number 2, Town of Raleigh Board of Selectmen, October 7th, 2016. Regarding the hiring freeze. Dear Board, I have received a letter of intent to retire, letter from Lieutenant Stephen May, effective December 2nd, 2016. Lieutenant May serves as my executive officer and second in command. The filling of that position is vital in the day-to-day operations of the police department. I am requesting the hiring freeze be lifted in order to hire a replacement that his vacancy will create. I appreciate your consideration of this request. Respectfully, Scott A. Dumas, Chief of Police.
I'll give you the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded to lift the hiring freeze to fill the vacant position of lieutenant on the police department. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. General business number 3, signed November 8th, 2016 election warrants. We have to post copies of the election warrants throughout the town, and we have to sign off on these warrants. Take a motion to sign the warrants.
Give you that motion, Mr. Chairman?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to sign the November 8th, 2016 election warrants. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. See if I can expedite this a little bit. Okay, thank you very much. General business number 4. Review the list of road opening permits for National Grid to open the following roads. 54 Warehouse Lane to install anodes on gas main. 40 Warehouse Lane to install anodes on gas main. 5 Burke Ave to install anodes on gas main. 18 Burke Ave to install anodes on gas main. The road opening permits were signed off on by the staff for National Grid to perform installations of anodes on gas mains at the 4 locations detailed above. Any questions, comments? Under our new procedure, we allow Debbie to sign off those. Okay, moving on. New business number 1. We have the letter from the Agricultural Commission requesting to raise the fiscal year 17 revolving fund expenditure cap. October 12th, Town of Raleigh, Board of Selectmen, 139 Main Street, Raleigh, Mass. 01969. To the Board of Selectmen. This letter is a request to meet with you regarding spending increase to accommodate the Agricultural Commission's ability to pay its bills for the remainder of the fiscal year. Currently, our cap is at $1,000. We have $1,400.26 in our revolving fund account and have received fees and donations to cover the nearly all of the expenses for the community gardens water bill and the partial funds for the farmers markets, New England restrooms rental fees, our biggest expenses. Currently, our line account is at $217.30, and we do expect bills next month, which may exceed this amount. We have other needs to do maintenance work at the community garden and to purchase some much-needed new signage for the farmers market. The Agricultural Commission will be seeking a permanent spending cap increase in the next fiscal year. I thank you for your time and consideration. Libby Tucker, Raleigh Agricultural Commission Chair, 186 Central Street, Raleigh, Mass. 01969. The only question I have is that she doesn't specify an amount that you'd like to see for the cap.
Yeah, I did speak with her, and I recommended, and we did this in the past, $4,000 to raise that cap. And at the annual town meeting is when we will change it permanently in the warrant. It can only be done at an annual town meeting.
Right.
And the last time we missed that because it was in June. So I think the 4,000 would cover, more than cover what she needs.
So we need to, so actually she's looking for a transfer into their line account?
No, she's asking to raise her revolving fund cap, which is set at 1,000 in fiscal 17.
We can't do that until the regular
No,
town
you
meeting.
can raise, the selectmen and the finance committee can temporarily raise that cap, but going forward in the regular budget, we would just set that cap like we do other revolving funds at an amount that's higher than 1,000.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to raise it to $4,000 on a temporary basis for FY17.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to raise the cap for the Agricultural Commission to $4,000 on a temporary basis until the town meeting
For FY17.
for FY17. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, October 17th, 2016, new business. Discuss memorandum of agreement with Teamsters Local 170. The town has reached an agreement with Teamsters Local 170. The board needs to vote and sign the memorandum of agreement.
Just Just for clarification for the public, Mr. Chairman, this is the firefighters' union contract.
For right, it's a 3-year agreement with the firefighters union. Thank you for that, Jim. Do I have a motion to sign the agreement?
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to sign the memorandum of agreement with the Teamsters Local 170. Bernie?
From Bernie Cullen, Weathersfield Street. What are the main elements of the agreement? Does everybody else know except me, or?
No,
It's
and
a
tonight
public
is, they're signing it in a public session.
Nobody
tonight.
knows until we sign the
Tonight
agreement.
it'll be public, we can make a copy for you.
Okay, so it can only be public after you sign it.
No, it's public now, so it's up to the board to.
So what are the main elements of the agreement?
Go through it quickly.
Okay. We have increase in wages. We have increased the maximum sick leave accrual to 250 days. There is a health insurance waiver stipend, a one-time insurance stipend if you're currently on the insurance that you can get and decide not to take it, you can get a stipend for one time only. The employee must have been enrolled the previous year and must provide outside medical insurance coverage. Let's see. We've increased their EMT stipend for the year starting July 1st, 2017 by $50, and the EMT stipend for the fiscal year starting July 1st, 2018 by $50. Our uniform allowance increase as of July 1st, 2016 of $100. Their detail rate effective on the funding of the agreement, which would be voted at the special town meeting November 14th, would be increased to $50. The extended absences of the chief, we voted to, this agreement effectively funds the increase of that to $100 per week. The duration of the agreement is a 3-year agreement from July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2019. And we're also have an agreement to look at health insurance plans with to determine if making certain changes in the health insurance, not changing the percentage amount, but making changes on the copay or whatever to see if we can get a reduced rate. And those are the basic.
So the first item was the salary increases? What are those?
Mr. Chairman, it's a 1% cost of living over 3 years.
Thank you.
So we have a motion on the table to, anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself from the action taken. I'll be outside the room after you, Phillips, take care of that.
Thank you.
Do you need a motion, or you already have a motion?
I have a motion and I have
I
a
have a
second.
motion, you seconded it.
Okay.
Right. To approve the memorandum of agreement with the firefighters Teamsters Local 170. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
neglected to have citizens query if anybody has.
Oh,
I
yes,
did. Thank you.
forgot to give you the time.
Okay, we have old business. Under old business, number 1, discuss Prospect Hill project. The town's engineer, Ryan Nalen, has recommended that the manhole on Prospect Hill Road that houses the town's communications be raised. The cost for the contractor to do this additional work is $2,200. The manhole will be raised by 18 inches to 24 inches. So it is much easier for the contractor to do this work now because the equipment is on site. It is just beyond the new grass-lined channel. And according to Ryan, the way that the grades have worked out on the roadway, the manhole will need to be raised to avoid having a pit just on the other side of the channel where water will collect. Debbie has run this by the highway surveyor, Patrick Snow, and he agrees that the manhole should be raised rather than buried so that we need to access it, so that if we need to access it in the future, it will be much easier to do so. Patrick also agreed that the cost for this work is reasonable. Debbie is asking for the Board of Selectmen to ratify the approval to do this work. Debbie also took some pictures today at the construction site, which are attached.
The motion to approve it.
I'll just give you something, I've dealt with this kind of work, and things happen, erosion, settling of the manhole, and the conduits coming into the manhole. These are just everyday problems that over the years that you have to address.
Mr. Peterson made a
Yeah,
motion.
I'll give you the motion.
A sec,
Mr. Pierce seconded the motion to approve. Any comments? Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to approve the cost for the contractor to do the work of raising the manhole from 18 to 24 inches. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Number 2, under old business, review special town meeting warrant articles. Debbie has prepared a rough draft of the warrant. She would like to review the articles with the board.
Mr. Chairman, I just point out, I don't think you've called for citizen query this evening yet.
No, I didn't. Let me do that now. Citizens query is now open for 5 days.
Mr. Chairman, this is basically an announcement. At the annual meeting of the tenants at Plantation Drive, I made some suggestions regarding changes in the parking and so on. And this morning, a bush hog and a small dozer cleared the area behind Building 4 to expand the parking area. And it also will serve as a better area for large vehicles to turn around in, including trucks, fire trucks, and so on. That started this morning. It's quite a project.
Thank you for that information. Anybody else? Okay. From Judy Pickett, Monday, October 17th, to Debbie Egan, Articles 1 and 2 of the annual town meeting. Article 1, to hear and act on reports of committees and boards, inserted by the Board of Selectmen. Article 2, to see what instructions the town will give officers, inserted by the Board of Selectmen. Is there a particular reason that these 2 articles appear on the warrant? I can understand commenting on the annual reports that have been prepared and are published in the town report, but I do not understand the second article. And these are comments from our town attorney. Town meeting generally does not give instructions to town officers, particularly without notice and an opportunity to be heard. Not every town officer will necessarily be at the town meeting to receive or respond to instructions. I have never seen this in other towns and question the value of this open-ended forum for instructions. I would consider a motion to, should I go on to?
No,
Mr. Chairman, I wasn't sure how you wanted to do that. There's a very rough draft of the warrant that I'm trying to piece together that's still under review because the town's attorney's still working out some of the language items. But she did ask about those two, and I need to know from the board if you want to have those on there.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend we keep Article 1. I just think it's oftentimes we've had reports that different committees might want, especially ad hoc committees that are,
right.
that might want to present. Article 2 is, I think we probably should eliminate it. And I say that because under the open meeting law, we normally post whatever, whether it's our agenda or a town meeting warrant. And if people start bringing up things at the annual town meeting for which the public has not been pre-warned, it certainly doesn't give people an opportunity to speak either in favor or against it. And it's not a binding, never been binding anyway. And I just think that, I think Judy's right. I've never, looking at other towns, they don't do this. And I think with the open meeting law now being very specific about what we can discuss and can't discuss, it seems to me that if somebody wanted to fight that, that could be actually a violation of the open meeting law, just because there's no prior notice that a certain topic will be discussed at a public meeting. So I think we might be better off to, it would be my recommendation, or my vote would be to eliminate Article 2.
So you're making that motion to?
Well, I just open it up, that's my
Oh,
discussion.
you're making a comment?
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think, as Judy points out, it's not legally required. Other towns don't do it. I think it could, the wording of the article is confusing. I mean, what is an instruction? Is that something that's binding or just a recommendation? I mean, I think you could argue that the word instruction actually makes it sound like it's binding, which we know that it's not. So I think that could lead to confusion and disputes among people in town and boards, and I don't see, and the open meeting issue, I think the point is a valid one. I think we should eliminate the second one, as Judy recommends.
I agree. Get rid of it. I think it's nice to have it.
Mr. Mayor?
It's the same, it's always been non-binding. It's been in the town reports since the turn of the century, basically, so.
Which century?
19th century.
So is that a
Town
motion?
report.
I'll give you a motion, Mr. Chairman, to eliminate Article 2.
To keep Article 1 and to eliminate 2.
We have Article 1 remain in the warrant and Article 2 be eliminated.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to keep Article 1 in the warrant and to eliminate Article 2 as Article 2 to see what instructions the town will give to town officers. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, going on. To Deborah Egan, Raleigh Town Administrator, from Judith Pickett, October 17th, 2016, regarding the Mahaffey Conservation Restriction. Judy Pickett is the town attorney, by the way. You had requested that I prepare a memorandum on the funding procedure for the Mahaffey Conservation Restriction herein after the CR. The town will be acquiring the CR as one of two co-grantees. The two grantees, the Raleigh Conservation Commission and the Essex County Greenbelt Association, Inc., will be known as Greenbelt, will share enforcement responsibility pursuant to the terms of the CR. Ownership of the land will remain with the Mahaffey Family Trusts. The town of Raleigh will be acquiring this CR for the $450,000, with portions of the fund coming from the Community Preservation Act fund account, private gifts and donations. Greenbelt will be donating $100,000 to the town, and the Raleigh Community Preservation Act Committee has voted to contribute $100,000. Gifts, donations, and other contributions will be placed in the special revenue funds, donations in Fund 24, and state grants in Fund 27. It is my understanding that these funds in these accounts can be spent without further appropriation. The town has submitted an application for a state land grant authorized pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 132A, Section 11, that if awarded, will permit reimbursement to the town of 58% of the cost of the acquisition. Reimbursement to the town in the amount of $261,000 would be payable only after the town has purchased the CR. This means that the town will need to pay the entire cost of the acquisition and close on the property, the CR, prior to any reimbursement from the land grant fund. I have sent the draft warrant article to state officials involved in the land grant program for their final approval. It is largely based on their model, so I do not expect any major changes. I will let you know when I hear back from them.
Mr. Chairman, so there's a draft article that the town's attorney wanted to run by the officials at the state land grant program, just to make sure it's accurate. So we did have a draft that was submitted with the application that the board approved back in July for this grant. The town's attorney has changed it somewhat. There's some changes in here that she's worked out with the Essex Greenbelt representative, Vanessa Johnson. And at this point, it's just being reviewed by the state to make sure that they're satisfied with that. And one thing we did speak about is the mechanics on how this will work, because the land grant is a reimbursement. And town council said that as part of the requirement for the land grant, the town has to actually write the check for the full amount of the CR. We can't segregate it into Greenbelt writing a check for their portion and the town writing a check for their portion. It actually has to all be submitted by the town in the closing. So,
I'd like to go through that and read that into the record on the, just to clarify, the town is not borrowing any funds. The land grant funds, if the town receives them, will be reimbursed after the closing. Therefore, I am guessing that the way this will work is as follows. Number one, the town meeting votes the $450,000 from the CPA account. Number two, the town will receive the grant award letter in December. Number three, sometime after town meeting and before the closing, Greenbelt gifts the town $100,000 towards the purchase, and these funds are deposited into the gift account. Number four, the closing takes place and the town writes out a check to the Mahaffey Tenney Trust in the amount of $450,000. Number five, the town files the paperwork with the state for the grant reimbursement for the amount awarded as stipulated in the grant award letter. Number six, the town receives the grant funds which are deposited into the grant account. The Department of Revenue will need to give us guidance on how the grant proceeds are transferred to the CPA account. It may require approval at a future town meeting. We won't know the mechanics of how this will work until the accountant speaks with the DOR. And that's
I just
provided by
I'd
our
like to
town
ask
administrator.
for a clarification. I believe that the closing's not gonna take place, I wouldn't think, until the state issues the grant award letter, correct? Saying that this reimbursement is available. So in other words, we're not gonna have a closing before the state issues
yeah,
the letter.
Mr. Chairman, the closing, according to Vanessa Johnson, would happen in June. So, we would not have we'll be having a closing with the grant award letter in
Right.
our hand as the guarantee for the state funds, but they won't release that,
So
obviously.
the town's not gonna be at risk for that $350,000.
We'll have the grant award letter, I think, and if that's something less than what we were planning on for the full amount, it's my understanding that the Greenbelt intends to make up the difference for any shortfall in the maximum amount of grant that we were hoping to get.
So what we're going to ask is that the Community Preservation Committee change their vote that we took at the last meeting and write the grant for $450,000
Right, rather than 100,000.
rather than the 100,000. And then we will, then at the town meeting, go through the vote. And then if we receive the grant award letter, then the town will be reimbursed for the grant awards.
Mr. Chairman, unless the CPA is changing its mind, I think your vote for 100,000, that appropriation is accurate. You may just want to vote to approve the warrant article. Hopefully it'll be finished, and we'll have make sure that there's no changes in it before the meeting on Thursday. What you do have to understand is that the other funds are coming out of the CPA account contingent upon these receipts. And we know that the money's gonna be in the gift account from the Greenbelt, and then these land grant account that the accounting department will hold. I just don't know, and I need to hear from the Department of Revenue when that funds are available, because they're not a part of the CPA, the overall CPA account. And we're trying to reconcile how that goes from these off-budget accounts into the CPA for, to be available for the CPA to appropriate for future expenses. And with the timing on this happening after town meeting in the spring, if it requires a town meeting vote to transfer out of the land grant account and the gift account, that would have to be at some future town meeting.
Okay,
So those funds became
Now I'm
available.
a little confused what we need from the CPC.
Well, I think just to approve the warrant article.
That's all?
And understand that the money has to come in from the CPA account with the reimbursements.
Right.
But the not to exceed 100,000 is my understanding is the desire of the CPA.
Right, that was our intent, yeah.
Yeah.
That was our net contribution after.
But
Yeah, to
understanding
achieve.
that you do have to appropriate it out of that account,
Right.
Yep.
contingent upon all these. And then the accounting department has to get some instruction from the DOR on how that is transferred over from these accounts to the CPA to replenish that account.
Okay, so can we make a motion to approve and pass a motion to approve, allow the expenditure of $450,000, which is contingent upon the receipt of the $350? Would that be?
Yeah, I think that's the way to vote it, yeah,
Yeah.
if you have to.
Wait a minute. Are we making,
Well, I
or
think,
is that coming from
See-
the community preservation?
I think that's what the CPC should do.
CPC
on
needs to
Thursday.
vote.
Okay, on Thursday.
Right.
Okay, because
That's what I-
my concern was that, as I expressed at the meeting, what happens if this land grant doesn't come through?
Right, that's my concern.
And, if Greenbelt has said, well, they'll go to Plan B and seek other sources for the funds, I'm just concerned about that.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that the Board of Selectmen require that before the closing, that you'll have the grant award letter in December, but also that the Greenbelt deposit their share based on whatever the land grant's going to be, if it's greater than what they were estimating, to the town prior to the closing. You understand that you're not gonna get the land grant funds until after the CR is executed and
Yeah,
recorded.
that's not, right.
But certainly the
I
donation.
understand the reimbursement
I
part,
think
but
if-
I want to know that the land grant has been voted.
Right.
Yeah, the land grant is a sure thing, so the Greenbelt funds, I think, are less, it's much more nebulous, so you don't know when that will come in, but before the closing, that they would have deposited their share into the town's donation account.
Any other comments, questions?
Sure.
Bernie?
I have a question. Are you saying that the land grant at the level that we're expecting is a sure is a sure thing?
No.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not saying that. I know that the Greenbelt, advised us that we have the town of Raleigh has a strong potential to receive the maximum grant, though for sure, we have no idea what amount will come back.
Right.
So shouldn't the warrant include language for to cover the possibility that
In the-
there will be,
In the event, I did not read the entire warrant
Yeah, there
article,
is-
but in the event that,
Well, the expenditure, the town's expenditure shall be contingent upon the receipt of any grants, gifts, or other contributions received by the town for this acquisition of not less than $350,000. So,
okay,
if the town doesn't get the 350,000, either whether it's from the state or from Greenbelt, I don't think it
That's
really
the-
matters, but we have to get it from one of those two entities, or
that's the
it seems
contingency.
the deal doesn't go through, it seems to me.
any other questions? Comments?
Mr. Pierce, whatever happened to agricultural preservation restrictions, APRs? That's what we have on our property in Newbury, our former property.
I don't understand your question.
Agricultural preservation
Right, I know what they
restrictions.
are, I just don't know,
Well,
whatever
whatever
happened.
happened, how come they didn't go that route?
How come who didn't go there?
Mahaffey's.
I believe they are.
Oh,
Mr. Chairman, no, they're actually not eligible for the size of the farm for an agricultural preservation restriction. I did have that conversation with Vanessa Johnson from Greenbelt.
Oh.
Due to the size of the farm, it just didn't meet the acreage, I believe. Unlike Pikel, which the town pursued maybe 15 years or so ago for an agricultural preservation restriction. So it was short of the requirement for that state APR.
But there'll still be a conservation restriction on the property.
There's a CR instead of a APR.
You know what the difference is between those two?
I believe it's just regulated under the Conservation Commission, under the CR. But why Vanessa Johnson thought the town would be a good candidate is this land grant stresses diversity of the land. So it's not just open space, but it was open space related to agriculture. But it's just that the farm didn't meet the rise to have the State Department of Agriculture get involved with a APR.
Thank you.
So it'll still be a perpetual restriction?
It's a
on the land.
CR, not an APR, because of the size of the farm.
In our case, the check just came from the state, 500,000. And then the land was sold to Robert Colby, who incidentally is a police officer here in Raleigh. He owns and controls the land for, I think, $50,000 additional, which he paid to us.
So,
We have to take a vote on.
Mr. Chairman, if the board, if we can vote on the warrant next week, I just want to review some of these warrant articles so that they're in rough draft, but we're still having some review done. They haven't been sent to the town council, except for the Mahaffey CR and the water use restriction bylaw. But we need funds to transfer into the selectmen's expense to cover the cost of town meeting. So we estimate that to be $4,000. We are looking to transfer funds. We have a balance in the Essex Regional Retirement Account on our assessment because it was promptly paid early in the fiscal year. We have funds that we can use to cover that, cover some of these expenses at town meeting. We're reimbursing the reserve fund for the cost of the fire alarm system at the annex, which needed to be upgraded to meet code. We're looking to fund a position in the cemetery department that the board had requested me to work on last spring, and I've been working with the Board of Cemetery Commissioners and the Cemetery Task Force that was appointed by the Board of Selectmen at the request of the Finance Committee. We've created a new position, cemetery supervisor / highway truck driver and equipment operator. It's a blended position, giving half-time help to the highway department and increasing the collaboration between these two departments. The position will report to the cemetery board and to the highway surveyor.
Maybe just a typo at the top, should be highway truck driver. So
Sure.
the first line there,
Yep.
so you don't miss it.
Okay. Yes, this has not been proofread at all, so.
Throw that
Thank
out
you.
there for.
Additionally, the Board of Cemetery Commissioners is requesting a stipend for the chairman of the cemetery board, and they have voted to request a $2,000 stipend, and the reason being is, while they will have this cemetery supervisor working for them, it is an hourly position, and it's not on call, so after hours, and there are a number of calls that come in nights and weekends when this employee will not be working, that the chairman will need to route to the cemetery employee, so there's funeral homes and there's funerals and things like that, and some scheduling things. The chairman of the cemetery board will interface with this new employee more than the other two members. So the board felt it was warranted to have a stipend for this, for this position of just the chairman of the board. So in order to do that, the selectmen would need to put an article in accordance with Chapter 41, Section 108, to set the salary of an elected official, followed by then another article to appropriate those wages. And the wages would come from to appropriate this stipend and come from the wage line in the cemetery department to the cemetery commissioner stipend line, which was 0 this fiscal year. Article 9, this addresses the memorandum of agreement that was just executed by the Board of Selectmen this evening. And this is a transfer from the collective bargaining reserve. I have not calculated out the amount that will go into the firefighter wage line, but this funds the contract with the fire union. Article 10 is just a placeholder. We are in negotiations with the AFSCME union, and at this point, we don't have a memorandum of agreement yet. But with the understanding that if that happens by next week, then we will have an amount in that article. And the same continues on. Article 12, this funds the completion of a requirement that the Board of Selectmen made with the Board of Health approximately 2 years ago when they purchased 390 Weathersfield Street, formerly known as the Girl Scout land, under the state Title V Environmental Code. Septic tanks have to be inspected and upgraded, and the Board of Health granted a 2-year waiver period for that to happen, since there was no time before the closing to have that happen, or right after that. So this completes this funding, which takes it from a balance of a borrowing article, $4,750, combined with $7,750 from the sale of town property account to finish that last septic upgrade that needs to be made in order to follow the agreement that the town has with the Board of Health. Article 13 was recommended to be placed on the warrant by the town's bond attorney, or bond counsels. We had a motion on Article 20 of the May 2nd, 2016 annual town meeting warrant, that a motion for more money than we actually needed for the highway department sander. So this article will rescind that motion. So it's really a correction in, on the books, so that there isn't an appropriation for monies that we do not need to borrow. Article 14, as the board knows, we're working out the contract with the architect for the elevator addition at the Town Hall Annex. I have a $30,000 appropriation that I've been working off, that was originally approved back in 2005. However, and that will cover the cost of this contract, but there are some additional things that I need, because, we'll be looking to come to town meeting in May with a full plan on, with construction estimates and other details, as well as the cost for the whole project. So, right at this point, under our contract with the firm, we would have them attend one selectmen's meeting and one historical commission meeting. And I think that we would probably, would like to have the firm come to the public hearing on the town meeting warrant, attend town meeting, as well as there may be some additional testing of hazardous materials and things like that that you get involved with in a construction project. And maybe some specifications on how to abate that, or should that come up, so that when we go out to bid, that will all be spec'd out in advance. So I'm asking the board if they would like to seek another $15,000 to cover some of these costs that are going into the development of the schematic plan for the elevator addition.
So this is design costs.
In addition to what we have under the contract, but extra things that may come up. They will cover the testing for hazardous material, depending on the location of where this elevator would go. But then there could be speccing that out, so that I can get that ready for the May town meeting. So if there is some further testing and an abatement removal that needs to be included with this project, should there be, I don't know, some lead paint or some other traces of other things that are in an older building. So I just wanted to see if the board would agree to additional funding, if not 15,000, something, other than we have a very narrow ability to get a lot done under that.
Once we had discussions and interviews with the architect, I mean, we knew going in that the $30,000 we had from 2005 was unrealistically low just because of inflation since that time.
Right.
Plus, the architects, all three that we interviewed, really talked about architectural design changes and hazardous materials and, other handicap things. So we really want this money, which isn't covered under the $30,000 part of the contract, so that when we go in the spring, to the Springtown meeting, this 15,000 would cover the increased cost to give us all that information, so that hopefully when we go to town meeting in May, we'll have a complete figure on what needs to be done, what needs to be mitigated, and get an idea of what those costs will be, so.
And also to pay for them to attend various
Some
meetings.
extra meetings outside of the contract that I think would be helpful, based on what we're seeing is the scope of work will be quite involved. And I think it would be important to have members of this firm with their skill set describing their plans, rather than us trying to explain what the schematic designs show. Is the board okay with that then? If so,
Yeah, I
I
think
would
we-
ask permission then to send a memo to the CPC, their meeting on Thursday, and ask if a representative from the board could maybe go and discuss that, this article.
Yeah, Joe, you can't go, you said, right, to the CPC Thursday?
No.
So
I'll be out of town.
I'll be there.
Cliff will be there, and I'm willing to go if the board has questions, or I can explain something further, so. Because this is really critical money for that. If we don't get this, it's gonna be tough to get the elevator done in a timely manner, because we're not gonna be able to get all the information we need to give a thorough review of the project and accurate costs estimates.
The next article is what we just spoke about. We have a draft of the Happy Farm Conservation Restriction. And right now, we just need to make sure the state officials are satisfied with that language.
Are you gonna put an explanatory note after that?
I will, yeah, I just frankly didn't have time, but we'll write up something that would describe this and get some feedback from Karen O'Donnell from the CPA if something they want. But we'll have this inserted by, if I right, the Selectmen, the Conservation Commission, and the Community Reservation Committee. They're the three sponsoring boards for this article, correct? Okay, so we'll speak with Brent and Karen O'Donnell, and I'll come up with some language, and certainly can be edited before the final version is done. The next article is a Water Department article. They had requested the $27,000 from their stabilization to cover costs. They have some additional costs for their paving project at 401 Central Street related to stormwater requirements. So that was one of their articles. The board had already discussed that a while ago. Additionally, they have an article seeking $225,000 from their stabilization fund, and that's for the purpose of complying with deficiencies in their state DEP sanitary survey. So I know the board is familiar with that. And then the last article on the warrant is an amendment to the water use restriction bylaw that the water department's been working on with the town's attorney. And what they're doing, they seek to amend that bylaw, and I know the board is aware of that, to include an enforceability component for private wells under that bylaw.
So this would just would give the water board the discretion to regulate private wells, but it's not
Correct.
automatic, right? They'd have to make a determination to extend the watering bans to private wells.
And that would be, under section 9 is the new language in that bylaw. That's upon notification that the Department of Environmental Protection has declared either a state of water supply conservation of a state of water supply emergency for an area that includes the town of Raleigh. The Board of Water Commissioners may regulate and control the use of all private wells consistent with this bylaw and consistent with their regulation of the town's water users or water consumers, excuse me.
They may regulate.
Right, so
Yep.
it's not a mandatory thing.
Looks good to me.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions on the warrant articles? Okay, the next item on the agenda is to vote the minutes for October 3rd, 2016. The minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting for October 3rd, 2016. When prepared, a motion to accept the minutes as prepared.
I'll give you a motion, Mr. Chairman.
A second?
The minutes for the Board of Selectmen meeting for October 3rd. The motion has been made, seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Murray?
Aye,
You were absent.
I was. Okay, then I'm not gonna vote.
Thank you. Okay. Announcements. Drug Take Back Day at the Raleigh Senior Center, Saturday, October 22nd, 2016, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Please see the town website, www.townofraleigh.net, for more information. Information on the Pine Grove School project is available on the town's website at www.townofraleigh.net. Special town meeting is Monday, November 14th, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. at the Pine Grove School. Household hazardous waste collection event for Raleigh residents on November 19th, 2016, at the Highway Department garage. The town's website has tips from the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency on how to protect your property from hurricane damage. Go to www.townofraleigh.net for helpful tips for homeowners and boat owners. The Raleigh Water Department has set a mandatory water ban in place. Outdoor watering is not permitted. Water Department customer billing cycle will change effective November 1st, 2016. Meters will be read on or about the 1st of every month. Details on the change are posted on the town's website, www.townofraleigh.net. The town has the following vacancies: fence viewer, 3 positions; wood, lumber, and bark inspector; zoning board of appeals associate, 2 seats; parks and recreation committee, 1 seat; deputy shellfish constables, 2 positions. For more information on these positions, please contact the Selectman's Office at 948-2372. The Raleigh Food Pantry is closed for renovations. I thought it was open.
Yeah, it's supposed to be,
Like that. You think it's supposed to be open?
yeah, it should be open. Should have reopened.
The Raleigh Food Pantry has reopened
But we haven't received anything, so that announcement was just carried over.
and is in need of donations to the food pantry.
Give you a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Didn't think so. Thank you.
Thank you.